That's what my family told me at my own kitchen table, the same pine table where I taught both my children to tie their shoes and count out nickels for the church jar. The wind rattled the porch screen, dust from the south pasture hanging in the late sun like gold powder. My son Travis set a stack of papers in front of me as if he were dropping a saddle onto a fence. Too hard, too loud. "It's time," he said, jaw tight. "Put the ranch into my name. Put the cash accounts with me. You can keep the house. We'll make sure you're comfortable." My daughter, Lila, leaned in, perfume sharp and sweet. "Mama, don't make this hard. We already lined up a buyer for the west sections. You don't even ride out that way anymore." Her husband, Brent, ran his thumb over a blue pen, clicking it like a metronome. "We brought a notary," he said, nodding toward a woman by the door in a stiff skirt and a smile that had no life in it. "All above board. One signature and we're done before dinner." I looked at the top page. General Durable Power of Attorney. My name, Hazel Walker, typed across the top, neat as a headstone. I did not touch the pen. I let the silence stretch until it had a shape. "Disowned." I said finally. "By who?" "By us," Lila said, too fast. "By people who are trying to help you." I leaned back and put my palms flat on the table. The wood felt warm. Under this very grain I had traced math facts with two small hands. Those hands now tapped their feet and watched me the way coyotes watch a gate. "You want all of Blue Hollow," I said. 720 acres. The creek. The high ground. The pens. The cattle brand with your father's initials burnt into the iron he made himself. And the $5 million I keep in CDs since the pipeline company paid to bury their line, and I said yes with a lawyer in the room, not a handshake in a parking lot. Travis didn't blink. "We want to take the burden off you." "You want to sell it," I said. "You want to chop this place into 10-acre postcards and tell strangers they can own Sunset." He reddened. Lila's smile didn't move, but her eyes went flat. "Mama," she said low and even, "either you sign today, or we cut you off. No birthdays. No Thanksgiving. No pictures with the grandkids. If you're choosing dirt over blood, fine. We'll make it simple." Something inside me, a small patient thing that had watched droughts and turned them into stronger roots, stood up. I nodded, slow. "All right." Travis pushed the pen closer. The notary shifted, ready for her stamp. "But I will not sign today," I said. "I'll read in the morning. I'll call Pastor Lane and have him pray over me. I'll wear my good boots to meet the bank. If it's still the right thing by noon, I'll sign. If not, I won't. That's as simple as I get." Brent's pen stopped clicking. We drove 2 hours. "Then you can drive 2 more tomorrow," I said. "Or you can stay for cobbler. Peach. I put nutmeg in it when I'm nervous." Travis laughed once, short and mean. "You think this is a joke?" "I think this is my land," I said and stood. My knees complained. My voice did not. "You've already told me what you will do if I say no. Let me tell you what I will do if you keep pushing. I will tell the sheriff. I will tell the bank. I will tell the court. And I will tell the whole county at the feed store, 1 bag at a time. Do you want that kind of simple?" Lila looked at Brent. Brent looked at the notary. The notary looked down at the toe of her shoe. "You have until noon tomorrow," Travis said, each word a nail. "If you refuse, we're done." He scooped the papers back into a folder, gathered his coat, and left the pen on my table like a dare. They all filed out. The screen slapped once, twice, and the house breathed again. I stood still until the dust settled and the quiet found its old corner. Then I moved. I poured the coffee I never got to drink. I carried my cup to my father's gun cabinet, now a document safe with a keypad the kids never bothered to learn. Inside, my deed, my will, the cattle brand registration, the survey map with the creek bend marked in my husband's neat letters. On top, a folded paper with a rubber band around it, Walker Family Trust, draft. I put it there after the pipeline money came and the checks felt too heavy to keep in a jar. I set the draft on the table and dialed my first number. "Abigail Stone," the woman answered, voice clean and quick. "County seat lawyer." I'd sat by her at a hog sale once. She ate her donut with a fork. "Miss Stone," I said, "this is Hazel Walker from Blue Hollow. My children brought me papers today and told me to sign or be disowned. I'm not signing. I want to keep the ranch as one piece and the money working for my name until the day I die. I want a fence made of paper. I can build that fence, she said, no fuss. Do you have tomorrow morning? I have tonight, I said. She paused. All right then, she said, and something in her voice changed. Make a list: doctor's letter of capacity, bank protections, a revocable trust with an immediate transfer of assets, and a no-contest clause. We'll title the ranch into Blue Hollow Ranch LLC, you as the sole managing member. We'll put voting rules in that no one can touch. We'll move the $5 million into the Hazel Walker Living Trust with dual signatures required for large transfers. Who do you trust to stand with you? Neighbor named Eddie Ruiz, I said. He's honest. He fixed my well when Travis said he was too busy. And Sheriff Maggie Holt will come if I call. Good, Abigail said. Make 2 more calls, your bank manager and the sheriff. Use a password. Tell them what happened. I'll be on your porch at 8. I called my bank. This is Hazel at Blue Hollow, I told the manager, a woman named Claudia Pike who always looked me in the eye. I want elder alerts on my account. If anyone calls about my money, you ask for my sentence. The creek runs backward in August. If you don't hear that, you freeze it all and call my sister. You have a sister for the trusted contact? Claudia asked. Her name's Nora Bishop, I said. She lives in Amarillo. She's loud and she loves me. You will like her. Claudia chuckled. I already do. I called Sheriff Holt. Maggie, I said, my kids served me sign or be disowned today. If they show up again with strangers and try to push me or record me or shame me, I want a case number ready and your truck idling. Hazel, she said, voice soft but firm, I'll put a note on the board. Do you want me to swing by tomorrow? Yes, I said. 11:30. Where you're quiet. I hung up, wrote it all in a spiral notebook with ranch log printed on the front, and taped a small note to my lamp like a church program. No more fear. No signatures under pressure. Record everything. Tell the truth first. I slept light but not panicked. The coyotes sang once near the draw. I dreamed of my husband Wade, flipping a branding iron in his hand and saying, as he always did, "Mark what's yours, Hazel. And keep it marked." Dawn brought a sky the color of tin. Abigail's truck rolled up at 8:02. She stepped out in jeans and a blazer, hair in a neat twist, a canvas briefcase bumping her hip. Coffee? I asked. Later, she said. Work first. She spread her papers on the table. Read this. Nice and simple, and it does what you want. She slid me the trust, the Hazel Walker Living Trust, me as trustee, Eddie Ruiz as first successor, a bank as second. Blue Hollow Ranch LLC formed with me as sole manager and a clause that said the manager could not be removed except by court order for cause. No contest clause disinheriting anyone who challenged my capacity or the trust. Letter of wishes directing scholarships for kids who wanted AG school and a fund to keep the creek clean. I like this, I said, tracing the words with my finger. It feels like a saddle that fits. We'll sign with a mobile notary at the bank, she said. Then file the deed transfer at the clerk. After that, anyone who waves paper on your porch is waving at a wall. At 9, my phone buzzed. Travis, we're coming at noon. Be ready. Don't make this ugly. I set the phone down and smiled at Abigail. I'll put a cobbler in the oven, I said. By 10, Sheriff Holt's truck crunched on the gravel. She came in through the mudroom, hat in hand. Casual check, she said, winking. Also, I like your cobbler. Sit a minute, I said. We're going to the bank. We drove into town, 3 women and a stack of fences. Claudia met us at her office door, bright red glasses perched on her nose. Morning, Hazel, she said. Let's make you hard to steal. We moved through forms slow and clear, elder alerts, trusted contact, no wires without the sentence, no new signers, text approvals to my flip phone and my landline. The mobile notary stamped the trust, the LLC papers, my signature steady on every page. Abigail looked at her watch. Clerk's next, she said. We'll record the deed from you to the LLC. After that, there's nothing left for them to snatch. At the courthouse, The clerk slid the stamped deed back to me with a faint smile. "You did good," she said. "My mama had to do the same." Back home, I put the trust binder and the stamped deed in the safe, shut the door, spun the dial, and laid my hand flat on the steel. It felt like closing a gate after the herd is in. At 11:45, I pulled the cobbler from the oven. At 11:55, Sheriff Holt parked under the cottonwood, left her engine running, and walked to the porch as if she had just decided to say hello. At 11:59, I set 3 plates on the table, one for me, one for Travis, one for Lila. The third fork lay on a napkin folded like a white flag. Noon knocked. I opened the door and saw my son's impatience, my daughter's cold smile, Brent's briefcase, and a stranger in a gray suit with a tiny camera pinned to his tie. "Ready to sign?" Travis asked. I stepped back and let them in. They brought a pen. I had brought the law. They filed in like they owned the place. Travis set his folder on the pine table, Lila perched on the edge of a chair like she was about to deliver a sermon, Brent snapped open his briefcase, and the stranger in the gray suit hovered near the window, his tiny tie camera blinking red. I took my seat slow, steady. My knees creaked, but my voice didn't. "Coffee?" I asked. "Or peach cobbler? Came out of the oven just 10 minutes ago." Lila smiled, thin and sharp. "Mama, let's not play games." "I never play," I said. "I bake." "That's different." Travis shoved a stack of papers at me. "These are updated. Cleaner than yesterday. Power of attorney. Transfer deed. Beneficiary forms. All you gotta do is sign. 1 pen stroke, and you'll never worry again." I glanced at the top page, then tapped my spiral notebook, already open in front of me. I write down everything these days. Helps me remember. The stranger in the gray suit cleared his throat. "Ma'am, I'm a paralegal. We're just documenting this for clarity." "Document away," I said. "This table's seen worse than ink." I let them talk. Brent explained clauses. Lila leaned close, voice syrupy, urging me to trust your own children. Travis clicked his pen like a ticking clock. Finally, I stood, slow and deliberate, and walked to the kitchen counter. From the drawer, I pulled out a folder. I laid it on top of their papers. The title glared in neat black letters, The Hazel Walker Living Trust. Travis froze. Lila blinked. Brent's hand stilled on his pen. "What's this?" Travis asked, voice too sharp. "My fence," I said. "Built this morning. With a lawyer, a banker, and a notary who don't eat at this table. Blue Hollow Ranch LLC. Trust in my name. Successors chosen. Deed transferred. Money locked tighter than a winter gate." "You can't do this," Lila hissed. "I already did," I said. The stranger shifted, trying to keep his tie camera angled. Sheriff Holt cleared her throat from the porch doorway. She had slipped in silent, hat tipped low, hand resting near her radio. "You'll mind explaining why you're recording without consent?" she asked. The man paled. Brent snapped his briefcase shut. Travis's face went red as branding irons. "Mama," he growled, "you're making this ugly." "No," I said softly. "You made it ugly when you said sign or be disowned." Sheriff Holt stepped forward. "Hazel, you all right?" I nodded. "More than all right." Travis's fist slammed the table, rattling the coffee cups. "You'll regret this." Sheriff Holt's voice cut sharp. "Careful, Travis. Threats don't sit well in my reports." He backed down, but the heat in his eyes stayed. Lila stood, smoothing her skirt, lips pressed into a thin white line. "You think you're clever, Mama. But paperwork won't save you forever. We'll fight this." I met her eyes, calm as the pond out back. "Then come hungry. Because I've got more cobbler, more witnesses, and more paper than you'll ever stomach." They left in a storm of slammed doors and muttered curses. The notary never even picked up her stamp. Sheriff Holt followed them out, taking notes in her little black book. When the dust settled, I sat at my table, staring at their abandoned pen. My hand trembled, not from fear, but from the weight of what had just begun. Abigail Stone called an hour later. "How'd it go?" "They brought threats and cameras," I said. "I brought fences and the sheriff." She chuckled. Good. But Hazel, this won't be the end. People who taste money don't spit it out. They'll circle back, meaner. We need to be ready. I pressed my hand flat on the cool trust binder. Then let's sharpen the wire. That night, I walked the ranch fence line with Eddie Ruiz, lantern swinging. The cattle lowed in the dark, the creek whispered over stones, and the land felt alive under my boots. This place is yours, Hazel, Eddie said. Always was, always will be. Don't let them forget. I won't, I said. Tomorrow, I start teaching them what forgetting costs. The moon broke through clouds, silver on the pasture. In that light, I swore to myself, they thought they could disown me. But by the time I was done, it would be their names erased, not mine. Because Blue Hollow was marked. And I wasn't done marking. Morning light slid through the kitchen window, pale as milk. I sat at the pine table with my spiral notebook open, steam rising from my coffee. Across the top of the page I'd written one word in block letters, revenge. I wasn't talking about guns or fists or hollering at church. No. My kind of revenge had teeth sharper than any knife. Paperwork. Truth. Patience. And timing. They wanted to erase me with a signature. I would erase them with the same ink. The first step was to gather proof. Travis and Lila thought they were clever, whispering to neighbors, spinning lies at the feed store, saying I was slipping, that I forgot to shut gates or burned cobblers. I wrote every rumor down. Date, who said it, who they claimed heard it first. Bridges taught me to count every crumb, the ranch taught me to track every footprint. I called Eddie Ruiz. He showed up in 10 minutes, dust still on his jeans from feeding. Hazel, he said, tell me what you need. Witness, I told him. Eyes that aren't mine. You walk this fence with me twice a week, you check my gates, you note my cattle. If anyone says I'm failing, you stand up and tell the truth. Eddie nodded. Done. And Hazel, you're sharper than most folks half your age. I smiled. Then let's prove it. The second step was to strengthen the trust. Abigail Stone, my lawyer, returned with more paper than a schoolteacher. We're adding a no contest clause, she said, sliding pages across the table. If Travis or Lila challenge this trust in court, they forfeit their inheritance. It's a legal boot to the teeth. Good, I said. Make it sting. She added, and we'll retitle the cattle brand too. Blue Hollow Ranch LLC owns it now. That means no one can use it or claim it without your permission. I traced the brand on the page, 2 W's interlocked, Wade Walker's initials, my husband's hand-forged iron. My throat tightened. They'll never burn it on their paper, I whispered. No ma'am, Abigail said firmly. They won't. The third step was to pull in the sheriff. Maggie Holt arrived one afternoon with her Stetson tipped low, leaning against my porch rail. Hazel, she said, we've logged 2 complaints already, anonymous calls saying you left your tractor running and almost set the barn on fire. My deputy drove out. Tractor wasn't even fueled. Barn was shut tight. I nodded. That's their work. Trying to make me look frail. Good thing we keep reports, Maggie said. If they try guardianship again, this'll show they lied. She flipped her notebook closed. Want me to send a deputy by evenings? I looked at my land, golden in the dusk. Yes. Let them see me with law at my side. The fourth step was a surprise of my own. I wrote a letter, short, simple, sharp. To whom it may concern, I, Hazel Walker, am of sound mind and body. I have no intention of transferring Blue Hollow Ranch or my assets to anyone under pressure. Any claim otherwise is fraud. I signed it, had Abigail notarize it, and mailed copies to the bank, the county clerk and Pastor Lane. That way, the truth was planted in 3 corners before lies could grow. 2 weeks later, the storm came. Travis returned, alone this time, stomping up the porch like a bull. He shoved a folded paper toward me. You've embarrassed us, he spat. Folks whisper. They think we're vultures. Fix it, Mama. Sign this deed. Quietly. I opened it. A quitclaim deed. My name on top, his at the bottom. 1 line and everything would be his. I looked up, calm. You still hungry, Travis? He blinked. What? I baked cobbler again, I said, standing. Peach. With nutmeg. He slammed the table with his fist. Enough with the damn cobbler. Sign, or you'll regret it. Regret? I asked softly. Like you'll regret what the sheriff heard just now? His face went pale. He turned. In the doorway stood Sheriff Holt, her deputy behind her, both with notebooks open. Evening, Travis, she said. Funny thing, we were just driving by. Heard you threaten your mama. Again. Travis stammered, This is family business. No, Maggie said, her voice iron. This is elder abuse. And I've got enough logs to prove it. He backed out the door, muttering curses, dust rising behind his truck as he sped off. That night, I sat at my table, pen steady in my notebook. I wrote, Step 5, turn their threats into their undoing. Because I wasn't finished. Not yet. I wanted more than safety. I wanted justice. I wanted them to feel the sting of being erased, like they tried to erase me. And I had the tools to do it. By the time I was done, Travis and Lila wouldn't just lose Blue Hollow. They'd lose the right to even whisper my name in the same breath as money. The moon slid high, silver over the ranch, and I whispered to the cattle in the dark. They think they can push me off my own land. Tomorrow, I push back harder. I woke before dawn, my old bones stiff but my mind sharp as barbed wire. Coffee bubbled on the stove while I laid out my papers like weapons. Trust binder, bank statements, sheriff reports, notarized letters. The pine table had turned into my war desk. Travis and Lila thought they were circling prey. What they didn't know was that I'd been turning their every move into rope. And soon, they'd hang themselves with it. The first strike came at the county clerk's office. Abigail walked in beside me, boots clicking on the tile, briefcase tucked under her arm. We filed 2 things that morning. A certified deed transfer for me to Blue Hollow Ranch LLC, stamped and recorded. A memorandum of trust stating the LLC was controlled by the Hazel Walker Living Trust, with me as trustee. The clerk stamped both and handed them back with a smile. Congratulations, Hazel. Nobody can move this land now unless you say so. I slid the papers into my folder. Good. Let's see them try. The second strike came at the bank. Claudia Pike, my manager, greeted me with her usual red glasses perched low. Hazel, your protections are airtight, she said, pulling up the account. But I flagged 3 attempts in the last week, phone calls asking about balances, transfer options, even wire limits. None passed the sentence test. The creek runs backward in August, I recited. She grinned. Exactly. So I froze every attempt and logged the names, 2 under Brent's cousin, 1 under Lila's married name. I leaned in close. Keep logging. Every attempt will be fuel. The third strike was public. Pastor Lane agreed to let me speak at the church potluck. No fiery sermon, no names called out, just truth spoken plain. I stood with my spiral notebook, silver hair brushed neat, navy cardigan buttoned tight. Some of you have heard whispers about me, I began. That I've left gates open, that I can't manage my own ranch, that I've signed papers I don't understand. I want you to know, none of that is true. I've made sure of it, with doctors, lawyers, bankers, and the sheriff herself. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. I let them settle, then added, I built fences on this land with my husband Wade. And I've built fences on paper too. Nobody will take Blue Hollow except the Lord when he calls me home. I saw Lila's friend stiffen in the back row. I saw Brent's cousin turn pale. Rumors had been my children's tool. I just snapped that tool in half in front of the whole county. The fourth strike was the lawsuit. Abigail filed it that Monday, harassment, defamation, and attempted financial exploitation. Attached were the sheriff's reports, the video of Travis slamming his fist on my table, and transcripts of their threats. They'll howl, Abigail said, slipping me a copy. But let them. This isn't just defense anymore, Hazel. This is offense. Good, I said. I want them to feel what it's like to be cornered. And cornered they were. By Wednesday, Travis came storming down my driveway, dust trailing his truck like a comet. He didn't bother with polite knocks. He burst through the screen, red-faced and furious. You filed suit against us? Your own children, he shouted. I stayed seated at my table, calm, pen in hand. Children don't threaten mothers. Thieves do. I filed against thieves. You'll regret this, Mama, he hissed. Courts won't always be on your side. Maybe not, I said, leaning forward. But paper will. And I've got more of it than you'll ever stomach. Before he could spit another word, Sheriff Holt's deputy stepped in from the porch, badge shining. Travis Walker, you're on notice. Any more threats, and it won't just be civil court. It'll be criminal. Travis froze, fists clenched, jaw tight. Then he stormed out, slamming the door so hard the frame rattled. That night, I walked the pasture with Eddie Ruiz again. The cattle stirred, moonlight silvering their backs. You sure you're ready for this storm? He asked. I looked out over the 720 acres, the creek glinting like a blade. They told me sign or be disowned. They wanted my name gone from my land, my money, my life. I'll tell you what's going to be erased now, their names. Eddie nodded slowly. Reckon they don't know who they're up against. Reckon they don't, I said, smiling grim. The final straw came in the mail 2 days later. A letter with thick paper and bold print, petition for guardianship, second attempt. They were trying again, doubling down. I held the paper in my hands, steady as stone. Then I set it on the table, pulled my spiral notebook close, and wrote, Step 5, erase them legally, permanently, publicly. Because they just walked right into my biggest trap. The second guardianship petition sat on my pine table like a live snake. Thick paper, bold letters, and the same lie wrapped in prettier words. Hazel Walker is incapacitated and in need of immediate protection. I ran my fingers down the page until the anger cooled to iron. This wasn't fear anymore. This was housekeeping. I phoned my small army. 8 o'clock tomorrow, I told them. We scrub this clean. Abigail Stone arrived first, hairpinned, boots neat, eyes bright. She laid a new packet in front of me. We're done playing defense, she said. Today we use the clause you asked me for. She tapped the first page, Trust Amendment, Contest Forfeiture Trigger. I read the one sentence twice. Any beneficiary who files, encourages, or materially assists a petition to restrict the trustee's rights, including guardianship, shall be deemed to have contested this trust and shall receive $1 in full satisfaction of any expectancy. Simple, I said. Sharp. Abigail nodded. We sign and notarize this before court. Then we file a notice of trigger event with the clerk. Their second petition becomes the match that lights their own rope. Sheriff Maggie Holt came next, hat low, report book thick as a brick. I pulled every call they made, she said. False complaints to the HMA, fake welfare checks, the day he slammed your table, video and transcripts. It's a pattern. Claudia Pike from the bank set her red glasses on my table and slid over a folder of logs. 2 more failed impersonation attempts, she said. Your sentence saved the day again. I said it aloud for the comfort of it. The creek runs backward in August. Good, Claudia said, smiling. And here's a letter from our fraud team, ready to present to the judge. Eddie Ruiz leaned in my doorway last, dust on his boots and quiet in his shoulders. He placed a spiral notebook beside mine. Each page held the date, gate checks, herd counts, irrigation valve positions, his handwriting steady. If anyone says you're slipping, I'll swear under oath you aren't, he said. I touched his knuckles. Thank you. We notarized the amendment on my kitchen counter. The stamp hissed, the seal bit. Abigail slid the paper into the trust binder like a cartridge into a rifle. Now the deed that ends it, she said softly. What deed? I asked. She opened another folder. Deed of Agricultural Conservation Easement. Blue Hollow Ranch LLC grants development rights to the High Plains Land Trust. No subdivision, no daylight lot sales, no flipping the creek into Instagram. Grazing stays, water stays, the work stays. Forever. The page blurred for a breath, then cleared. Forever, I repeated. Yes. We signed. We sealed. My name traveled down the page with my husband's initials burning in my chest like the old brand on iron. Let's go to court, I said. Let's tidy up. The county courtroom filled before 9. Travis sat at the petitioner's table in a gray suit that couldn't quiet his red neck. Lila wore a cream dress and a face that said innocent, the way a fox says lost. Brent Whisper fidgeted with a fancy pen beside a new city lawyer who smelled like money and sprinted through small towns on weekends. I took my seat with Abigail. Sheriff Holt sat behind us with her deputy. Claudia's folder lay on my left like a patient dog. Eddie waited in the hall with a thermos and his notebook. The judge from last time, a woman with steel gray hair and glasses that made her gaze feel like X-ray, looked over the file a long while before speaking. Petitioners, this is your second emergency filing in 30 days. You're alleging incapacity again, despite capacity letters, bank protections, and a prior denial. You had better have something substantial. The city lawyer stood and spun words about decline, confusion, and risk. He waved a printout of anonymous tips to the HOA and an affidavit from a concerned family friend claiming I left my tractor running all night. Interesting, the judge said, voice flat as a plow. Respondent. Abigail rose, all calm lightning. Your Honor, we'll be brief. Exhibit A, capacity evaluation from Dr. Chopra, unchanged. Exhibit B, police reports logging false complaints and recorded threats, including transcripts of petitioners saying sign or be disowned, and will make your life uncomfortable. Exhibit C, bank fraud logs showing attempted impersonations. Exhibit D, witness notes from Mr. Ruiz, a neighbor who checks gates and counts cattle twice a week, with photographs. Exhibit E, respondent's trust structure, which the court recognized last month. She paused, then placed one more paper on the ledge. And Exhibit F, a trust amendment properly executed yesterday. It says any beneficiary who files or aids a petition to restrict Ms. Walker's rights forfeits their interest. Regardless of today's ruling, they have already cut themselves out. You could feel the air change. The city lawyer blinked. Travis glanced at Lila. Lila's mouth opened and didn't find words. The judge glanced through the amendment, then back to the petition. Deputy, play the recording from last week. On the screen, my kitchen appeared. Travis's fist hit my table, his voice filled the room, sign or you'll regret it. Lila's hiss rode right behind, we're not leaving without something signed. When the recording ended, silence fell like heavy snow. The judge sighed. Petition denied. Again. I'm issuing a protective order. Respondents shall have no contact within 500 feet of Ms. Walker or Blue Hollow Ranch, except through counsel. I'm also sanctioning petitioners for abusive filings, costs and attorney fees payable to Ms. Walker within 30 days. The gavel tapped once, and it sounded like a nail-driven flush. And counsel, she added, eyes on the city man, if you advise your clients to file a third emergency petition with nothing new, you can pay the next sanction yourself. The city lawyer swallowed. Understood, Your Honor. Abigail stood. One more request, Your Honor. We seek leave to file the trust's notice of trigger event in this proceeding, so the disinheritance is part of this record. The judge nodded. Granted. File it today. I didn't look at my children. Instead, I fixed my eyes on the seal above the bench and let my breath complete a long, unfinished circle. Outside, reporters waited, but I spoke only once. When people try to take your name, put it back on, double-stitched. Then I walked past the microphones and into the bright, honest sun. We spent the afternoon finishing the work. At the clerk's office, we recorded the conservation easement and the notice of trigger event. The clerk stamped and slid them across with a small, satisfied smile. These will outlive all of us, she said. At the bank, Claudia printed the sanction order and set up a dedicated account labeled Sanctions, Walker versus Walker. When they pay, you'll see it land right here, she said, tapping the screen. And if they don't pay in 30 days, it goes to collections like anyone else. In the evening we held our last meeting at my kitchen table, me, Abigail, Sheriff Holt, and Eddie, while the cobbler cooled between us. Abigail opened one final folder. This is the part you asked for, Hazel, she said. Inside sat 3 letters on crisp paper, each with my signature already waiting. Letter 1, Notice of Disinheritance, to Travis and Lila, citing the amendment and the court record, assigning each the sum of $1 and enclosing a check I had the bank print while Claudia grinned. Letter 2, No Trespass Order, served by the sheriff and filed with the DA, bearing them from Blue Hollow under penalty of arrest. Letter 3, Name Removal Acknowledgement, not a legal necessity, but a public act, a formal statement that no endowments, scholarships, plaques, or brands associated with my property or fortune would ever bear their names. Not for spite, the letter read, but for accuracy. I slid a fourth document from beneath the pile and placed it on top. And this, I said. The Last Gate. Abigail read the title and exhaled. Blue Hollow Working Lands Foundation, Declaration of Trust. After I die, I said, the LLC membership moves here. Eddie chairs the board with 2 neighbors and the AG teacher from the high school. Profits keep the ranch running, pay scholarships, and fix wells for families who can't afford dry. No developer touches a fence post. No influencer turns the creek into content. Eddie set his big hand on the page, gentle as a prayer. We'll keep it honest, Hazel. Sheriff Holt raised her mug. To the kind of revenge that feeds people. We ate cobbler while the sky went red over the south pasture. Somewhere a calf bawled for its mama, and a minute later the bawl answered. When they left, the house grew quiet in that good way houses do when they're holding you, not warning you. I carried the trust binder to the safe, placed it beside the stamped deed and the easement, and spun the dial. The steel hummed under my palm like something alive. I brewed tea and took my cup to the porch. Crickets sawed the air, the cottonwood leaves argued softly above the driveway. A truck passed on the county road and didn't turn in. For the first time in months, I felt my shoulders drop that last inch. By week's end, Abigail texted me a photo, the court docket updated with petition denied, sanctions ordered, protective order granted. The Land Trust sent a welcome packet with a map that colored Blue Hollow bright as a quilt square, protected in perpetuity. The feed store put up a flyer for the Wade and Hazel Walker Scholarship for Working Lands, application deadline circled in red. On Sunday, Pastor Lane asked if I wanted to say a few words. I stood under those plain church lights and kept it simple. Folks, you can love your children and still lock your gates, I said. One is feeling. The other is wisdom. Don't confuse them. The congregation didn't clap. They did something kinder. They nodded like people who had fences of their own. I baked one more cobbler that afternoon and boxed half for Eddie's wife. When I came back from the truck, a white envelope lay on my kitchen floor, shoved under the screen. No stamp. No name. Just 3 words in black marker, you killed us. I slid the envelope into my log, shut the notebook, and put the kettle back on. Because the thing about erasing names is this, it leaves room to write better ones. The dust on the road rose again, one last shadow coming.